Manson house, where the Manson, or actually the Tate house, where the Manson murders took place. How did that make you feel?
Well, it's something that if you just think it's really weird, it's weird. But if you don't think about it, it's fine. You know.
Any ghosts?
At first living here was a bit weird, because I live there too. I live out in the guest house where the caretaker was and didn't hear anything, so I feel safe. But the thing was, we drove cross country to get out here and knew what we were getting, knew where we were going to be living, so we just took turns reading Helter Skelter out loud as we were driving. So we pull in here, 11 o'clock Sunday night, caretaker's like, here's your keys, see you in the morning. He just left us. And the house was empty and everything. That was
a frightening.
Is there a weird vibe there at all? I mean, something was saying that the kitchen is very pristine and not that far down were the only clear fingerprints that sort of nailed all these people were. I mean, it's... Because we had the opportunity to possibly go to the house and do the interview there, although we don't have a budget anymore. Not that we ever did, which I would have given my right arm for, so I'm assuming you're going to invite me to dinner after the program.
Of course.
Okay. No, yeah, and the rest of the studio. Is there a weird vibe there?
If you're there in the day, it's not too... I mean, it's what you juxtapose upon the place. But occasionally, I mean, we become numb to it because we're there all the time. But if you start to think about it, and a lot of times there's a lot of weird, just things happen. Equipment has a tendency to break 20 times more often than it does anywhere else, I think. Weird sounds, things like that, which of course you in your mind turn into being...
Ghosts.
This is it,
The baby's here.
Exactly. But the way we found out about that place was, I was looking for a house to put a studio in temporarily to record a record instead of going to a real studio. And I was going to do it in New Orleans, where I was living, but couldn't find a place that met all the requirements of big enough, not next to neighbors, so you can make noise. Came out to LA for a day and saw like 10 houses in a row. And that was one of them. And at the end of the day, we just decided that was pretty much the coolest one. We didn't know at the time that was it. Because the address is different than in the book. And someone mentioned, hey, I think that, that Sharon Tate house is right up around there somewhere. And they happened to have a copy of Helter Skelter, and I started looking through it and saw this picture of the ladder that I was standing on that day. I was like, oh, man. So then I was like, oh, you got to rent it now. You got to do it, So the only time we'd seen it after that was... when we drove out, knowing that it was we'd get there at night.
Do you want to continue recording there?
We're going to try to finish this new album we're working on there.
The album that's going to be released in, is it like
Someday.
March of next year or something like that?
Well, realistically, we're shooting for a summer release, because I'm recording now through whenever I get it done, which I hope will be March.
So Broken is the EP that's out now. And now, is there a remix that's called Fixed? Am I incorrect?
No, what happened is I had people that I respect do remixes of all the songs on the record, including Coil and Jim Thirlwell, Fetus, and a variety of people. Of course, I can't think of any now that you've asked me that. But
tried. I gave up. I gave up. I tried. 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 I gave up. pretty girl, pretty, pretty girl. Cease to exist. Just come and say you love me. Give up your world. Come on, you can't be. I'm your kind, oh, your kind, and I can see. Walk on, walk on. I love you, pretty girl. My life is yours. Yeah, you can have my world. Never had a lesson I ever learned, but I know we all get our turn. I love you. Never learn not to love you. Submission is a gift. Go on, give it to your brother. Love and understanding is for one another. I'm your kind, I'm your kind, I'm your brother. I never had a lesson I ever learned, but I know we all get our turn, and I love you. Never learn not to love you. Never learn not to love you. Never learn not to love you.
Decided to make like one big 12-inch of all remixes with all the songs remixed, and call it Fixed. The problem was that possible confusion in the marketplace, so I'm told by people that know that sort of thing. But it was just meant to be a remix and cheap and self-indulgent. You know, there's 10 minutes of us goofing around in the studio and just for fun.
Nothing wrong with that. We're going to watch some more videos, and then we'll be back with more with 9 Inch Nails. Coming up, you're going to see the 360s, Dead 1970. But right now, here's the other new 9 Inch Nails video. It's Pinion.
Over the motive for those savage murders. Were actress Sharon Tate and 6 others killed to ignite a black-white race war? That's what the prosecutor said Manson wanted to do. But for 20 years, Charles Manson has refused to answer questions about Sharon Tate. Until now. In this hard copy exclusive, Manson talks about the killers and the victims.
All of them children that you look at and call bad, they gave their whole self for what we were doing. And the murders, I took full advantage of them in every way I could. I painted a picture with them. I drew lines with them. I used their bodies in all kinds of directions. I hung a for sale sign up over the body of Sharon Tate. And I said, I will take advantage of everything I can to save my world.
How was Sharon Tate threatening your world?
Sharon Tate was not threatening my world.
But did you even know that Sharon Tate was living in that house?
Yeah, I knew Sharon was living there. I knew Sharon well.
You had known Sharon Tate before?
Sure.
Where'd you meet her?
I met her in Dennis's house 2 or 3 times. I met her in Elvis's house 2 or 3 times.
Do you have a grudge against her?
Grudge against her? No. No.
Did you like her?
I didn't like her, dislike her.
In 1969, when Charles Manson kills Sharon Tate and all those people upset, remember? Scared him to death. He armed every one of us. That's when it became very paranoid. And then we get the death threat in Las Vegas. And he has this picture of Manson in that courtroom, and he's picturing someone like that sitting in a courtroom that their claim to fame was they had shot and killed Elvis Presley. And he took Jerry and Red and myself, who were doing the security mainly at that time, and said, tearfully, if it happens, I want you to get to him first. I don't deserve to be shot, killed by anybody. And then he told us what he wanted us to do to him.
Did you know that she was married to Polanski?
No, no. Look here. I had no way of knowing where Tex was going. I was in San Diego when Tex made his move. When Tex made that move, I had a traffic ticket in San Diego.
If you'd known Tex was going to Sharon Tate's house, would you have stopped him? Would you have stopped him?
No. And I'll tell you why. Anybody in prison will tell you, Mr. A and Mr. B's in a cell. Mr. A says, I'm going to hang myself. Mr. B says, I won't let you. So Mr. A kills Mr. B and hangs himself anyway. There's a knife on that yard, and Joe Blow's going to make a move on Tom Green. You get in the way, you're going to get moved on. You walk your line in life.
With the nation still reeling from news of the Tate murders, the killers struck again. This time, Manson went along to the house where a couple named LaBianca was mercilessly slaughtered.
So when Tex and I went in to the LaBianca house, there was a little dog out there going, I told the dog, shh. And it's funny, dogs just never bark at me for some reason.
The dog would live. The people would not. Manson says he tied up Lino LaBianca and asked him about a gangster, Frankie Carbo.
I asked him if he had the black phone book, the one from New York City that he owed. Did you ever hear of a guy called Frankie Carbo?
But what was put out was that you never knew Lino LaBianca before you went into that house.
I didn't. I knew Frankie Carbo. Frankie Carbo knew Lino LaBianca. And he said, what do I know about the black phone book? And I told him that I was sent from God to get the black phone book. I told him, don't lie or you'll die.
Again, a confused motive. Prosecutors developed no evidence of any Manson tie to Frankie Carbo. They are certain of what happened at the LaBianca house. Tex Watson, with the assistance of the female family members, stabbed the couple to death in the same way victims were massacred at the Sharon Tate house. Manson and the others were all lucky enough to dodge the gas chamber. They're serving life sentences. But now the death penalty's back on the books in California.